Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a book review to share with you today. I received this book from Crossway to review. This is volume 2 of the Psalms, a Christ-centered commentary by Christopher Ash. This is going to cover Psalms 1 through 50. I have actually reviewed volume 1 of this series over on my Instagram. Volume 1 was really kind of the preface behind, before you get into all the commentary, sort of talking about, his approach and studies and how you break down the poetry and all those kinds of different things. There's a very information heavy in that first one. And so I wanted to share, though, a few things about this commentary that I find really interesting, because this is a Christ-centered commentary. It's really looking at the Psalms with the Christ as the focus. And so when you get through the pages in the beginning, you have, some quotes from some other scholars. You have, of course, your publishing pages and all of those kinds of things. But when you get into the preface, he talks in here about his kind of intentions for these commentaries. And so I'm just going to read his 4 points here. The first one says, to help you understand the lyrics of the songs, what the words mean, and what the poetry signifies. Number 2 is to assist us in feeling the tune, that is the affectional and emotional dimensions of these songs. Number 3, to point to the volitional commitment that is asked of disciples when we join in the Psalms. To say the Psalms means moving from the audience where we listen without commitment to the choir where commitment is expected. And I think that's such a good point. Number 4, to motivate you to take that step and actively to make the Psalms a part of your lives of prayer and praise. So I'm really interested in this. I have planning to do a deep dive into the Psalms this year. I actually have a couple of ideas, ways to do that. And so I'm really excited to have this first volume. Obviously, this is going to take a while to get to get through, going through all of the Psalms, but it is something I want to do this year, take a real deep dive into it. So I'm happy to have this this resource to do that. He asks some other information. There's information about Hebrew tense forms, texts, and translations. You have a page of abbreviations here that you'll see throughout the book, several pages of those. And then you get into the first Psalms, so 1 through 50. So this is talking about book 1, and you have some quotes here on this first page, and then you go into this section called orientation. So it kind of gives you a preface to this psalm. There's also a lot of footnotes down here. And so you have some just basic information here before you actually get into the text of the psalm. So you have, page and a half of all of that. Again, footnotes down here. Then you get into the text and it gives you some information about the structure. And then we're going to start going, basically verse by verse. And so you have this comment just like any other, commentary would be. So you have your commentary, your footnotes going all the way through, your subtitles. We're here, Psalm 1 verses 3 through 4. For example, and then a reflection and response. This is another category, getting to the end of this before we move into the second psalm. So then you have another quote, and you go through this same process again with all of the text structures, and then going through, and at the end of each one, again, you have the footnotes and then a reflection and response, just a way to kind of really help you think through some of these things. And then there's some really interesting information in the back of the book as well, that I think is really going to be helpful as well. So I wanted to share those as well. Okay, so here in the back, you have a section that is called the epigraph sources. So for all of those quotes that are at the beginning of each psalm, it gives you the sources for those quotes in here, which is really helpful if you really like the quote, if you want to look it up. Then, of course, you have your bibliography. And then we get into a subject index, which is a section of this that I really like. So if there's something that you're kind of wanting to look up, you want to see how the Psalms refer to that, you can look that up in here. So for example, like this one right here says face of God. So it gives you the page numbers where this is talked about. And so I just feel like this is going to be a really helpful resource as well. This is the subject index. Then you have the name index. So if you're familiar with some of these writers and theologians and scholars, you have them here that you can go and look those up as well. Then you have a scripture index. So this part is really cool too, because anytime that the text is referencing another scripture, it's going to be listed in here. So you have, like, for example, in Genesis, you have it and it's by verse. So chapter 1 is mentioned in all of these pages. Chapter 1, verse 1 is page 92 and note 13. Like, it's very specific if you're really wanting to get into that information for the scripture index, and it goes all the way through. So this is a big reference back here to kind of see where other things are referenced if you're interested in that. And so that is my review of this book. I think that it's going to be super helpful to kind of take a good deep dive into the Psalms in a different way as well. I enjoy reading all kinds of commentaries, and so I'm excited to read this as well. And I'm obviously, I'm not going to do a cover to cover read on this, but as I'm, doing a deep dive into the Psalms this year, I think this is going to be an excellent resource. So I want to say thank you to Crossway for sending this book. I'm very excited about it. I hope to acquire the rest of the volumes so that I have all of the Psalms over time. So very excited about that. Anyway, if you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.